Often, recipients of the Lantern Bearer Award are highly visible performers or perhaps obvious movers and shakers in the Midwest folk community. However, as befitting the name of this award, some recipients work diligently out of the spotlight to illuminate the folk community. Nancy Clark is one of those people who has shed light far and wide while never shining it on herself. She has supported our community in spirit, soul, and sustenance. And I can't tell you, I've known Nancy for 24 years now, and anytime somebody was in need, Nancy was there to help them. And that included organizations, individuals. She was just always willing to hear you out and to try to offer help. Nancy Clark was initially influenced by attending a summer camp organized by a Quaker family where morning meetings started with songs. And the last song of the camp session ended with floats bearing candles and everyone singing Peace of the River. While studying at the University of California in Berkeley, she met her husband, Peter. And in fact, then she went off to Australia to do more studying, and she told me Peter was so bereft he met her in Hawaii on the way back. She worked as a computer programmer and moving with family to the East Coast with several stops in between. They settled in the Chicago area, actually Oak Park specifically, where they discovered the Midnight Special, as well as attending a Joan Baez concert at what's now Symphony Center, and suddenly developing a real interest and curiosity in folk music. Nancy heard me ask for volunteers to help catalog the folk music library at WFMT, suggesting this activity to her husband, Peter. He came to WFMT. Little did I know that he had a PhD in chemistry. And here he was typing away, entering the database. And he became so enthused because about that time, we started the Folk Stage series, and I invited him into the studio to hear a concert. And he came out saying, wow, and he came home to Nancy and said, we should get more involved with this. And this expanded to their becoming early supporters of Folk Stage and making the program possible, as a matter of fact. And suddenly, they found themselves hosting performers, providing meals and occasional transportation, presenting house concerts, joining Folk Alliance, and starting a weeknight folk music concert series at the Oak Park Public Library as a way of providing additional livelihood for traveling performers who needed those middle-of-the-week gigs. It's really incredible that all this was done by one volunteer. As is evident, caring, compassion, and conviction have shown the usual special good nature of Nancy Clark, more than just being a volunteer. It's time to briefly and modestly invite Nancy Clark into the spotlight. She's never claimed glory. She's never expressed any ego involvement. It's always for the benefit of the music and the community. And I'm so delighted that Folk Alliance Region Midwest has awarded her this Lantern Bearer Award for all of her work in the folk community. Nancy, would you step forward?
So, in thinking about the arc from summer camp to here, I did a little memory searching. And I have to tell you that in the early 1960s, there was a game show. Back up a moment. I'm from Los Angeles originally. And it's usually had adult contestants, but there was at least one occasion when there were teens. I was one of the contestants. It was an interesting experience. And afterwards, not immediately afterwards, but subsequent to that, my dad looked and found in Hollywood a guitar shop that specialized in classical and flamenco guitars. And we went, and I picked out one, and a case, and one set of strings, and I got a teeny bit of change from my $250 winnings. That was the start. Now, my dad played violin. I never actually heard it. It was when he was younger. But he wanted to make sure that I understood about the guitar. And so we did go to a Segovia concert at Santa Monica Civic Center. However, folk music, I did take classical lessons for a little while. Decided that wasn't, I loved it. It sounded great. I didn't do it well. But I did love folk music. All right, now I've got to cheat and remember some of this. I think the folk music, it was the story songs that really spoke to me. And I also learned some additional history beyond what they taught in school from songs. I actually think the first time I heard Phil Ochs' There But for Fortune was probably by Joan Baez doing it. Okay, so I think additionally, I loved meeting new people, places beyond my comfort zone of my own school and community. So over time, though, the interest died down. I did other things in the early career. But community activity changed when I was a parent and homeowner. So in doing that, I learned again and again that in volunteering and doing things, you get back way more than what you give. And I'll give you a tiny example. I agreed to be a pizza mom for the middle school when my kids were involved in theater there. And so, once you pass out the pizza, you listen to the middle schoolers. I met another parent who subsequently came to almost all of my house concerts. It's a big community out there. I found that the community is a source of new friends, wonderful experiences. The fun of having performers stay in your home is terrific. I'm sure every house concert presenter knows this. You do more than you expect because they come needing things. Perhaps a string that you have to go to 3 shops before you find the right one. Forgotten items, sending back things, it's all part of the deal. But mostly it's fun. and you find that you have connections that you never would have dreamed about. They just come out in the conversation. Again, wonderful. So very early on, one of our first people who were staying with us for Folk Stage takes a look at the house and says, "You ought to have house concerts here." So I'm agreeing to this. She leaves. I get on the phone, it must have been in those days, to Jamie O'Reilly, who we knew through her sister and brother-in-law, and said, "What did I just agree to do?" She gives me a 3 typewritten, that's how long ago it was, she's report of what it is I need to do. So we're taking inventory of the chairs. I've got the graph paper out, drawing the living room, trying to figure out, how are we going to do this? Over the years, I learned which neighbors had folding chairs I could borrow, and then ultimately was able to buy 24 lightweight folding chairs, much easier. Well, I still had some of the chairs that were in my house, so it's enough. I've had 60 something. It's more comfortable if it's 40, but so that's it. So, and then my empathy with the performers increased when we had some other experiences, we and two other couples supported Bonnie Kolak's Timeless CD, and there's some people here who were participants in that. And then we did a CD for the Remembering Fred, so this would be Fred Holstein, that concert. And we divvied up the work. I drew the job of getting the permissions for all those songs, paying, finding. One performer did a medley of 3, but it was more than 20 seconds or whatever, so that was fun. But and you dealt with CD Baby and just lots of stuff, sending out to the DJs, all that stuff. So, I don't do it often, but I've been through the experience. And the last one, well, I'll get to that one in its own way. In 2015, I was on the receiving end of this community's love. When there was a memorial concert for Peter to benefit the Oak Park River Forest Food Pantry. He had been the president of the board. And then we did the CD, thanks to Rich, of that. FMT used it as one of their thank you gifts during their pledge. None left for tomorrow's. And, that was very special. And then in 2019, which is the last time I was at Farm, I filled in for a friend who had arranged for to host private showcases, and she was not able to come. And there was a group of us who did everything. We tried to do it the way she wanted, with decorating the room, the snacks, the packing stuff up, and handing it off to the next group that would take the same stuff to NERFA. So I feel like I've tasted a number of different folk experiences. And I have some lovely news. That Oak Park Library series, we were pretty quiet over the pandemic because they're very conservative in the library about what would happen. But Monday, we had our first concert. Half of the performers are here. And the technology is such now that you can register to come through the library's own calendar system and get an email reminder and link to their streaming. And we had over 100 people show up for that first. So it feels like it's back. So, and that was, I had the advantage, the Friends of the Oak Park Library actually did the funding for this, and they were having a board meeting in the library same night, 30 minutes after the start of the concert. So I sent an email, invited all of them to stop on by and take a look. And I actually, even though I was sitting in the back, I don't remember if anybody left at 7:25. But that process was just wonderful to get the instant feedback after I sent out the email. Someone of them registered and then sent an email saying how easy that was and telling everybody. And I thought, the ripples just went out. So I don't think, I wanted to share one other last thing. We've also went to NERFA from time to time, and years ago we heard Derek Sievers, who was the original person behind CD Baby, speak. And he talked about networking, but not in a looking out for yourself kind of way, but of always giving someone else information that you thought they would be interested in, and that was a much more effective tool. And it was wonderful to get that story, that practice, from going to a folk concert, because it was useful in other parts of life too. So here I am, end of what I want to say to you, other than during this pandemic, I feel that Farm has been a wonderful outlet, and it has grown and helped all of us learn how to do more things, and really will function a little bit differently than it had, as well we. starting even with this, some things that have changed in this conference. So I want to thank you for this. It's kind of cool. I did that one. I left my mask on the whole time. Oh, well. I do have a face.
You're beautiful. Thank you. Nancy Clark. Okay, don't go anywhere. We have 2 recipients of the Lantern Bearer Award this year, and if you were looking in your program, you know who the other one is, and you might have noticed that he's not here. But thanks to the help of some friends, we have made a virtual acceptance speech for our second award recipient. So can we get the lights, you guys?
Hey everybody, Matt Watroba here on behalf of my musical partner and friend Robert Jones. We are just thrilled to be able to introduce Josh White Jr., someone who's become, well, not only a mentor, but a friend. You know, I'm thinking, Robert, one of my earliest memories of seeing Josh was probably in 1977 at the Raven Gallery. So we go back over 40 years. He didn't know me, of course, but I was in that audience as a 17-year-old, absolutely amazed at this man's ability to take a crowd into the palm of his hand. We've seen that happen, right?
Absolutely.
Over and over again. And it's just just to think that I've been able to spend the rest of my life being able to get to know Josh as a person as well. I can't think of anyone more worthy of a Lantern Bearer Award. Josh has a way of creating community with music wherever he goes.
Absolutely. You know, Josh, I've only known him for about 35 years. But in those 35 years, I've come to respect him as a great entertainer, a mentor, a teacher, and a friend. And I've seen him in so many different capacities. It's wonderful that we talk about the Lantern Bearer Award because the metaphor of shining light into darkness is a great way to describe Josh and his music. Always the idea is building community. Always the idea is shining the light of truth for an audience and then connecting with that audience in a real, wonderful, spontaneous, and special way.
And I would say positive. You know, it's like you leave a Josh White Jr. concert and you feel better about the world. You know, that's, boy, is that needed now more than ever. And, you know, and that doesn't even talk about the legacy of Josh White and Josh White Jr. Talk a little bit about that amazing guitar style and blues style that no one does better now than Josh.
Exactly. When you want to find out who, you know, Franklin Roosevelt's favorite folk singer was, and you're talking about Josh White Sr., but sitting on Josh White Sr.'s lap is Josh White Jr., absorbing, bringing that to the fore. And nobody does Josh White Sr. better than Josh White Jr.
That makes sense, doesn't it?
Exactly.
And you know that this is almost too hard to believe. Josh has been a professional musician for 76 years.
Wow.
From the time he was 4 years old, sitting on his dad's knee singing one.
And Eleanor Roosevelt's knee.
That's right.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Singing one meatball. Josh has never, shall we say, done an honest thing for a living other than play music.
That's why both of us want to be him when we grow up.
Absolutely. So what do you think? Should we
Gives us the great honor to introduce to some and present to others, as we say in the church, Josh White Jr.
On behalf of the Folk Alliance Region Midwest, the entire community, the Board of Farm, it is my great honor and privilege to present to you Josh White Jr., Farm's 2022 Lantern Bearer Award. I hope you will accept this with our gratitude.
Oh my goodness. Well, I am grateful, grateful to this day.
Ladies and gentlemen, Josh White Jr.
What can I say? I'm a grateful person to find in my life that which touches other people in a good way. I thank my father who had the idea of having his son sing with him. And having people do this after you sing, why do you want to stop? That started it off. People did something that I would normally do, and they did that, and then after a while I got paid for it. So I'm grateful that I've been able to do this and know that that which I do helps people when they need it. A touch of the heart, that is a good thing. For sister and my mom and dad, we'd have our own little white hootenanny where everyone would do a song and we'd sing it together. And that's why I like to try and invite people to do certain songs with me wherever I am, because everybody likes to sing. No matter how much they think they sing, everyone likes to sing. And it's best for some if you sing with a crowd. So, if you don't think your voice is that good, it can be smothered with others, but you're fulfilling your feeling of being able to sing. And this song, this has got to be the oldest song I've done. I've been singing this next song for 76 years, and I haven't finished yet. And I always ask for people, whether I know it or not, if they hear it and want to sing with me. I wish they do. It goes like this. Well, the little man walked up and down to find an eating place in town. He read the menu through and through to see what 15 cents could do. One meatball, this is the chorus. One meatball, he could afford but one meatball. He told the waiter near at hand the simple dinner he had planned. The guests were startled, one and all, to hear that waiter loudly call. One meatball, I don't hear anyone singing. One meatball, he could afford but one meatball. You know, the little man felt ill at ease. He said, some bread, sir, if you please. The waiter hollered down the hall, you get some new bread with one meatball. One meatball. One meatball. Well, get no bread with one meatball. You know, the little man felt very bad. One meatball was all he had, and in his dreams he hears that call, you get some new bread with one meatball. One meatball and no spaghetti. One meatball. Well, you get no bread with one meatball. One meatball. One meatball. That's how music started. Thank you all for the help. Beggar's Keyboard Lounge, early '61, and I've been working with my dad, singing places. I could not find, truly, 1961, June, I could not find a motel that would take me. I was in New York, Pittsburgh, all places, could not find it. I had to rent, or I paid for a room at a black family's house for me to do my first gig here in Michigan. I've been down so long, and getting up never crossed my mind. I've been down so long, getting up never crossed my mind. Well, I've been pushed and I've been shoved. I've been everything but loved. I've been down so long. Getting up never crossed my mind. I never wrote a lot of songs, and there are a few songs that I felt came through me more than from me, if you know what I mean. This might be one of the first songs that came out of me, which goes, think about me, think about you, think about all the joyful things we can do. Think about peace, think about hope, think about the folks around this world who just can't cope. What we need is peace and understanding and time to let it grow. For us to stand equally together, not just one to rule the show. So don't let your ego keep your guard up and shadow what is real. Oh, we've got to keep it real for us to grow. So think about joy, think about love, think about the world that I'm desperately wishing of. Take a look at me, come on and grab my hand. Let's show the world just how tall we can stand. Then we all can walk the streets together the way it was meant to be. Always be aware of the ones around you and to help with what they need. Do all these things that I just mentioned and do it with a smile. Cause we've got to keep a smile for us to grow. So if you think about me, I'm gonna think about you. Think about all the joyful things we can do. I said think about me, I'm gonna think about you. Think about all the joyful things we can do, y'all. One more time. All yours, take it with you. Hold on to it. Music brings people together. That is what I'm grateful for to have in my life. Music. People can talk and all, but a song can get to you better than somebody even speaking to you. And I found that early in my life, and I find that it's always a good way to get in touch with people, because we all like to sing, no matter how good we do sing. Music brings people together. And it kind of makes you remember that we all are a member of the same family. No matter what color you are, no matter what religion you are, we are all comes from the same family. And I get a chance to see lots of my fellow family wherever I go. And to know that we are always connected touches me. There are times when the music has gotten a hold of me that I'm singing with people, to hear them and to see the faces and see the look on their faces. You know what I mean when you see happiness in somebody's face? When I'm on the stage and look out and see the happy that we are enjoying, you can't beat it. And there's no other thing I'd rather do, and I'll just keep on doing it. And always be grateful. In fact, I'm in the middle of writing a song that says, well, I'm grateful grateful to this day. And I think it's important for all of us to find the reason why you're grateful. We all, well, I might as well tell you, it's my story. Born and raised in New York City, 150th Street. And I was running across the street. It was summertime. The kids and I, all of us were playing. One-way street, our car came up, our block. And because I was so involved in my playing, I wasn't really aware of the car. And all of a sudden, the man honked. I'm running this way. The car's going that way. I turned, and he hits me. And all of a sudden, I'm looking at the underpart of somebody's car. I don't remember how I got out of it. But I wound up in the hospital for a week. And thinking that that man could have decided to go a little faster, and I wouldn't be here. So I find that's why I'm grateful. I think all of us can find a reason to be grateful. I'm grateful I'm talking to you right now. Like this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, you know I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Sing it again, come sing with me. This little light of mine, you know I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, you know I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Everywhere I go, sing everywhere I go. You know that I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, you know that I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Right here in my heart, right here in my heart. You know I'm gonna let it shine. Right here in my heart, I'm gonna let it shine. Right here in my heart, you know that I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. This little light of mine, you know that I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, yeah, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, you know I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it, we gotta do it one more time. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Go ahead, guys. We'll see each other again. Take care. of you and yours, and even someone you don't know. Like my song says, say a prayer for a stranger. Ain't nothing wrong with it. That's it. That's it. Good idea. Yeah.